Greg and Clark.
Yes, he goes. A little down screen, a little different look.
Bootsy Thornton trying to go inside to Postell. He was fouled. Count it.
Ooh, with the kiss. They need some power. They have not been themselves and yet within contact. I think that's going to be a big concern for Ohio State. You haven't seen the emotion, but getting the ball inside, this is the forceful nature you're accustomed to with St. John's.
Foul on Savovich, his first, the team's fifth. Postell 2 out of 2 from the line tonight. He has 9 points, averages 12.8 per game. Missed the free throw. Scooney Penn came flying in for the rebound. 3 minutes left in the first half. Red. Now Penn. Savovich. Reese. Johnson, the only other player who hasn't touched it on this possession. Red, the line drive miss. He continues a little bit colder than usual.
That little 2-3 zone. Ohio State has guys who can penetrate. That's very helpful against the zone.
Postell, apparently they like that matchup with Savovich guarding him. He missed the shot that time, and Savovich came up with a rebound.
They may like it, but if Savovich plays him tight, he leaves him to Johnson. That's good defense.
Jim O'Brien's big concern, all the St. John's perimeter players can dribble and penetrate. And there's Red stroking the 3. 11 points for Michael Red.
The ability to shoot it deep, so important against the zone, but they stretch it as well with these perimeter people.
Red continues climbing up the Ohio State all-time point total ladder. Now 1,337 points. He just went past Jim Clemens into the 18th spot. Postell out of control, but a blocking foul called on a step in the lane. It's on George Reese. And I believe overruled there. One official had a block, but David Libby, the lead official, stepped in and said, no, it's an offensive foul on LeVar Postell. And that has Mike Jarvis very upset, about as animated as you'll ever see him.
Yeah, this is going to be helpful to St. John's, I think. His guys will know he's behind them. The controversy on this particular call, you can see the forceful nature. They backed off and would have given him a chance to get to the foul line. I think I'm going to let that one go. Give it to Postell.
Gene Monge had it a block. He made that call, but David Libby overruled him. It was the first personal on Postell. Now Jesse played it ahead to Thornton. He lost it as he started to stumble. Reese played it ahead to Penn. Emmanuel defending. Nice defense. He forced a miss, and Postell rebounded. 1:20 left in the half. Buckeyes by 10, matching their largest lead. Now it's 8 on the lay-in by Barkley.
There's the juice in the open floor. Very explosive and confident. Maybe a step up in their attitude right now by St. John's.
John Sanderson on the floor for Ohio State, number 33. Red, another 3. He's starting to feel it.
How about him with a little nylon mitt?
Barkley. Whoa, what a shot. And he'll have a chance at the free throw line.
He's one of the, if you score 2 points on Eric Barkley, he's got to come back and get right after you. Well, the ball movement, the deployment, and look, the zone just not reacting. The slower people in the back there, Postell does not react. But Eric Barkley has the ability, with the little kiss, to go right after you at key times in the game. He's starting to get in the flow now, and that's dangerous for Ohio State.
Barkley is 7. The foul on Sanderson was his first to put Ohio State over the limit. Barkley heads out. They'll try to avoid his picking up another foul as Chudney Gray comes in for the final 55 seconds. You're right. St. John's has played a poor half, Bill, but they're close enough that Ohio State really can't be comfortable. Penn.
How about this? He reads right away. Knew it was man-to-man. Took his guy. Got a good look.
Jesse, a starter for much of the year, gave it to Gray, and the 22nd timeout called by Coach Jock. About a 10-second difference between the shot clock and the game clock. Barkley back in now that they're on offense. Emmanuel couldn't handle the pass. Thornton saved it. He was fouled. And Bootsy Thornton will go to the line as Johnson hit him on the arm.
And does Barkley make things happen? That's his penetration. They've got Gray right up. Jarvis in the game now simply because his team is. He can start to coach a little bit. The emotional aspect of the game, it's all up to the players. But once again, Eric Barkley with a little magic. Wasn't handled real well, but Abuchi dancing a little bit down there on the baseline. He has been tough and solid, whether it's the dive or finish.
First foul on Johnson. Thornton from Baltimore really enjoyed that victory over Maryland. He felt he was slighted by the Terrapins during the recruiting process. They showed little interest in him. Part of that was for academic reasons. He had to go to junior college first. Timeout called to 20 by Jim O'Brien. That is Marvis Sr. And the mom didn't want little Bootsy to be Marvis Jr., but Dad did, so he is Marvis Jr., but the mother decided to start calling Bootsy because she heard a song by the artist you mentioned.
Just in case he couldn't fight when he was older, huh? You want to take one where you can tip.
They can take the last shot. Red for three. Good!
Is he feeling it? Oh, imagine him with the mix of deep threat and bounce into ecstasy. He's the load.
Just the way the first half ended for Ohio State Thursday night against Auburn when Scooney Penn hit a long three.
Speaking of Bootsy and dancing, how about Michael Redd? He had those puppies in motion.
Boy, Jim O'Brien got real excited, didn't he? He knows there's a long way to go. The end of the first half, the score Ohio State 41, St. John's 33. Tournament now with 17 points in this one. Ohio State's ball to begin the second half. Penn guarded by Barkley.
And right now St. John's going with their man-to-man. Red played by, what a step through. Oh, a little lingerie. Pick it up, Sean McDonough. Oh, what a step through.
Well, when Jim O'Brien told us he was the best offensive player that he'd ever seen from the foul line in with his moves, ability to take it to the basket, we both looked at him like you're crazy.
But being played by the St. John's best defender as well.
I'm a believer now. After what we've seen in this tournament, Ohio State matching its largest lead. Postel knocks in the jumper. He has 11.
And Ron Artest has to stay on the floor with Michael Redd. And when he's out top, let him dribble. When he makes the move, take away the dribble path.
Same fivesome that started the game for Ohio State begins the second half. Penn, Redd, Brown, Singleton, and Johnson. Redd feels it. That one rims out of bounds. Last touch by Singleton. Here's Michelle Tafoya.
Guys, at halftime, Mike Jarvis told me that he's asked his team to pick up their intensity and play much harder on defense, but he also wanted them to pick up on his calm demeanor. He said, I don't want them to think I'm panicking because I'm not. Sean?
All right, Michelle. Inside they go. Grant fouled by Johnson, who thought that was a clean block. Would have been the fifth block for Johnson. Instead, it's his second foul. And an aggressive move to the basket by Grant, who is playing with 3 fouls.
And Sean, one of the dilemmas when you're a great shot blocker is you rely on that ability instead of denying, moving a guy out. Don't let him catch the basketball that well. With 2 in jeopardy, I would continue for Mike Jarvis. Pound it in, see if you can get number 3. He's a big factor on the defensive end.
Tyrone Grant, the only senior on this St. John's team, 59% from the line, and much worse than that here in the NCAA tournament. He's now 3 for 14 shooting free throws in their 4 games in the tournament.
You're tough. He's got the bad hand, he's got tape on the hand. You want everything.
I'm just reporting the facts.
Yeah, you're very factual.
He has 3 points. He has been playing with a sore wrist, or fractured bone in that right wrist during the season. He had a staph infection the other night in his left hand. He dislocated a finger. That's taped tonight. Penn, great cut underneath and an excellent pass by Redd.
And that's a little flex screen on the baseline. They ran it earlier. Scooney was the screener earlier in the game. This time the recipient.
Barkley to Thornton. He tried a quick 3, and Brown blocked it out of bounds.
So on the ability to pass, also the screen underneath sets it up, and the alert release too before Tracker can gather.
Barkley to Artest with Postel, Grant, and Thornton, the starting 5 beginning the second half. They need Artest to heat up. That's an air ball. But no rim, just the backboard beside the rim.
And he's not half of himself, Sean. He's got to just relax and get into it.
Singleton nicely along the baseline, then a wild shot. He tipped it himself and missed. Out of bounds goes Thornton with the ball. It'll be Ohio State's ball.
They are not comfortable. And Mike's comments to Michelle Tafoya, you can understand why. He is a relaxed guy. They are playing a little panicky right now as Mike Jarvis tries to calm him down.
Johnson in the lane, shooting over Grant, and there's the soft touch from the Piano Man.
And that little lane is your tomb for Grant if you can let a guy post up like that.
The lead grows to 11. Postel to Thornton. Artest. Another air ball. Shot clock continues to tick down to 8. Postel missed a 3. Thornton the offensive rebound, and he missed a short one.
Well, they are totally off their game. Tribute to the great defense, though, of Ohio State.
It has to be tough for Artest, but when you know you're in a big game, you know you're struggling, you're trying to get out of it, but every shot seems to make it worse for him.
I would go inside if I'm post up. That's his game anyhow. He can do a lot of things. You get to the rim.
That's a miss from three-point land by Artest into the Ohio State's ball. Reggie Jesse's coming in. It might be Artest going out.
No,
it'll be Tyrone Grant.
I think part of that was that last post up for Ohio State and Ken Johnson. It would just be physical, and Jesse, let's see, the matchup will be Artest on Johnson.
Token pressure here in the backcourt being applied by St. John's.
Terrible shooting percentage. A real struggle for the Johnnies.
The numbers were similar at the start of the first half, and St. John's picked it up later in the half.
This is where he's tough. Look at all these jukes and bounces. Oh, pick it up.
And then Red's shot rattled out to Artest. Quickly ahead to Barkley. Bootsy Thornton. Barkley and Penn right there reacting quickly.
Move it quickly and move your body, St. John's. This defense is suffocating.
As it has been throughout the NCAA tournament. The three opponents played by Ohio State in the tournament shot a combined 32% against the Buckeyes. There's Jesse just off the bench with his first bucket.
Jesse, a Bishop Loughlin kid. You mentioned Brian Brown, another one. Bobby Leckie, their high school coach, tuning in back at home.
He's a longtime friend of Jim O'Brien. And Jesse's the all-time leading scorer of Bishop Loughlin in New York City. Johnson, the jump hook wouldn't go. Singleton committed the foul over the back. 3 fouls on Singleton. Timeout. 15:40 remaining. Ohio State up by 9. Things aren't so happy right now.
No, this is the challenge for Mike Jarvis. Got to collectively get them together, calm guys down. I saw his son, Mike Jr., go after Eric Barkley to discuss some things, and of course the big guy has to play well. Ron Artest is a second thinking on that one.
Bootsy Thornton, a contested 3, well defended by Brown. They haven't gotten Artest many shots in the last 2 games. He took just 5 shots from the floor against Maryland. Has just 4 attempts tonight.
He gives it up. He's unselfish. This is where they got to tee it up if they want to get back in this. Be aggressive, check out, maybe get a cheapie on the other end.
Jason Singleton playing with 3 fouls for Ohio State. He's on the receiving end of a great pass by Scoonie Penn.
And what a read, the slip by Singleton. He was the guy involved in the flare, and then the slip to the 10.
Jason Singleton went past 1,000 points for his career in the win over Auburn on Thursday night.
And this is where he can do some damage. Pump, step.
Passed it out to Postel. He missed a 3. Artest first to the ball. And if that's on Singleton, it's his 4th.
And I think you're right, Sean. But Ohio State has been flawless on the other end. Getting good shots. Being in the right position. Here's a little screen, a slip. And on the money. Penn. Well, that's what you want your point guard to do. And he's just as tough off the ball, which is what gives Red an opportunity to dominate with the bounce.
Thornton missed a 3. Singleton now on the bench with 4 fouls. George Reese is in. It's Red, Penn, Brown, Johnson, and Reese for Ohio State. The Buckeyes lead by 11.
Makes the rolling hook here.
There it is. And Johnson over Ron Artest.
He's coming along, isn't he?
Yes.
He's more than a guy that can play chopsticks.
When we talked with Jason Singleton yesterday, he said last year Johnson didn't even want the ball, had no confidence in his offensive game. Now you can see that he does want it. Barkley, the runner, quiets the crowd.
This guy wants it too. I mean, he'll put them on his shoulder if given the opportunity. I think he gets disgusted when things aren't going right and says, I'm the guy that's going to take over. This is a key period, I think, for St. John's. The next 4 minutes. Here we go again. Set him up.
Johnson scores over Artest.
A little hook and a little kiss for the folks back at home.
10 for Johnson, who averages 6 a game. And there's a size advantage there. Johnson 6'11", Artest 6'7". Barkley, nice pass to Bootsy Thornton.
Yeah, a little slip maybe by Penn with the ball, but a little, they hadn't done that at all. The high pick and dive, that time good read as Barkley got between defenders.
And picking up in the man-to-man in the backcourt. Artest, a steal.
And a leak out.
Postel, fouled by Brown, chance for 3.
The first little spark, and it came from the diamond press just over the timeline, three-quarter court. And Artest, who's playing a fraction of his ability, that time maybe a lift for St. John's. Just getting in the passing lane, and before going out of bounds, an assist to the other end. He had a choice. Postel, the ability, and all of a sudden you got a little juice flowing. You got a little excitement. Mike Jarvis Jr. on the right. And they have not had much to shout about.
Brown to the bench after the foul, replaced by Savovic. Postel can't finish. He's 2 out of 4 from the line. Brown's personal foul, his second. And the lead is 9, the largest lead seconds ago, 13 on a couple of occasions for the Buckeyes.
Would you call this a danger point for Ohio State? You know, they need a basket.
I don't think they're quite there yet, but Johnson missed a little jump hook and a chance for St. John's perhaps to tilt momentum in its favor.
If St. John's scores, I think Red or Scooney will have the ball on the other end the next trip.
Barkley. Jesse out to Postel. A 3.
They will not go away. You know that. Just by virtue of where they're from.
You're right. This does become an important trip now for Ohio State. A 13-point lead, quickly down to 6, and Jesse called for a foul as he came over the back of George Reese. Let's take a look at the tournament summary. Connecticut, congratulations to Jim Calhoun. Finally won't have to answer any more questions about not making it to the Final Four. They beat Gonzaga. St. John's trying to make it 2 Big East teams on the way to St. Petersburg.
Now we'll talk about what a great job Jim Calhoun's done all throughout his career there, and there won't be that asterisk. Kick, you had him the other way, Penn.
Penn's all alone on the near side.
There you go. It took a long time.
And for 3, every time they need a hoop, it seems he gives them one.
He sure does. He's got onions and the ability to deliver.
Barkley pulled the rebound away from Johnson and missed the shot. Johnson was fouled on the arm by Barkley. Barkley needs to be careful. He waved his hand right in the face of Gene Mungie.
Oh, that's the end of the game that he has totally got to get in control. The emotional end. The ability to kick and find people. Jimmy O'Brien has him set up to deliver. Scooney this trip for Ohio State.
Jarvis, the wife of St. John's head coach Mike Jarvis.
And rightfully so. Their team is not playing as they're accustomed to. Very important how they value the ball, Ohio State, and the counter. A little different look. Mike Jarvis pulling out all the stops.
They were poised to trap it, backed out of it once Ohio State got it to Penn over at half court.
And here's that little 3-2. Little flatten out. Barkley on top. You got to slip to the foul line and look. Good job. Not a good pass.
Thornton intercepted Reese's pass. Barkley. Whoa! Penn thought he had it cleanly, and that was one of those, Bill, that sounded like the whistle was blowing in anticipation of contact that perhaps did not come.
I think that was a message by Penn. There was no way he was giving up on that basket, Sean. I think no question there's a body in this one, but I think this is all about, you're not getting an easy one. And you can see underneath, the referee can always say that it was body, but this is part of the intensity, the involvement of these 2 point guards. They will not back off.
Barkley missed the free throw.
And Scooty still coaching there, pointing to the head, and he is up in a magnificent fashion.
2 personals on Penn, officially.
Salem, Mass.
That's his hometown. Johnson, bad pass. Couple of bad passes in a row by by Ohio State big men. St. John's trying to capitalize. Postel missed the dunk off a Jesse miss. Barkley on the floor, got the timeout before the rollover.
That's one of those, get the deuce. We don't want to see all the icing. And once again, Barkley's shown. We mentioned Scooney with the ability to negate and great effort with a message. Well, this is the type of game that I've become accustomed to watching and love in Barkley. So smart, the timeout, making sure he saves the pill for his Johnnies. Finally bought in, and to many of these kids, trust me, meant, you know, pass the bread, here comes the baloney, but they bought in with him.
With him, you get the feeling the father part is most important. We chatted with him yesterday. He said the greatest joy of his life in coaching has been having his son as an assistant coach on the bench with him for many years. Mike Jarvis II, better known as Deuce. Artest still can't get one to go, and Scooney Penn pulled the rebound away from his teammate Savovich. Scooney at 5'10" has 6 rebounds.
And that's what they need. They need Ron Artest to ring the bell.
Nearly midway through the second half, Ohio State has had a fairly comfortable working margin throughout this second half. Penn for 3. Long rebound. A tip back to Penn by Savovich.
And that's one thing he does. In looking at games, Savovich saves a lot. Just that little flick back, but Reese with a good slip to the post. They are decimating that zone.
16 points for Penn. When he sat out last year as a transfer in practice, he played with the walk-ons and he beat the regulars.
Numbers. Watch the lob.
There it is. Blocked by Artest. Great play by Artest in the corner. They were ready for the acrobatic dunk from Red. Now a 3-on-1. Blocked by Johnson on Postel. Barkley fouled, and he'll shoot 2.
And Reese didn't have to block that because he had the big guy, the Sultan of SWAT in Columbus. Ken Johnson, he's strutting around there, Sean. What a magnificent preparation here. There's one, and right here Reese gets in the middle, and all he got to do is let the big guy loom and do the damage.
This is the 3rd game of the tournament in which Johnson has had 5 blocks. He blocked 5 shots against Murray State, 5 against Detroit, 1 against Auburn. He had foul trouble in that game, and 5 more tonight. 2 out of 3 from the line is Barkley. 2 out of 4. He missed the first of 2. Congratulations to Kentucky Wesleyan, the Division II champions over Metropolitan State. And Connecticut on to the Final Four for the first time. The winner over that appealing Gonzaga team that earned so many fans around the country with its performance.
Dan Munson, what a wonderful job.
Barkley missed both.
And I think those two were attitude, Sean. While you were doing your homework, he strutted off the foul line and discussed on the first one. Chill, relax.
Savovich with Barkley pestering him. We're approaching 9 minutes left. Ohio State by 10. Red, bullet pass. Savovich. 3.
Oh. I'll tell you what, if you're playing against him, that's what you call him too. Savovich. Oh, is he doing little things and now making big hoops?
This matches the largest lead. Postel quiets the crowd with a 3. 19 for Postel. He's almost single-handedly keeping the minute here in the second half. He's capable of having big games.
Very patient outwork by Ohio State. Look at how they're deploying. Nice baseline to the hide man. Get a good look.
Reese missed the baseline jumper. O'Brien probably wanted even a little more patience rather than have Reese take that. He's better a little bit closer to the basket.
Need Artest to start dominating just a little bit.
His 3 is good. Finally, Ron Artest gets a 3-pointer to go. He's 1 of 4 from beyond the arc. And all of a sudden, the lead is down to 7, and a 20-second timeout call. Back in December of '89.
He's all about winning, and I got the feeling, well, Barkley's going this way trying to win. Ron Artest is going that way. They got to get it back into the middle, and that's why you have a guy like Mike Jarvis over there who's been able to do it all season long.
8 minutes left. Jason Singleton comes back onto the court with 4 fouls, and that's a travel. Penn dragged his foot as he stopped and went to pass.
A little three-quarter press work.
Now a full timeout. St. John's with momentum, down 7.